Hello and welcome to Soul. I'm Em, your host, and I'm excited to have you join me today. As an overthinker, I've learned that communication is not only key to relieving my thoughts from the strain they're putting on me, but also to almost everything in life. The problem with communication is that a lot of times we're just either not doing it, or when we do it, we may not be doing it the best way for us and for the receiver. There are different techniques when it comes to communicating. For example, the 4 T's, also the 7 C's. In case you aren't familiar with those, the T's are tone, technique, timing, and truth. And the C's are a bit more of a mouthful, but they're clarity, completeness, concreteness, correctness, courtesy, conciseness, and consideration. I have recently learned that as much as I like to practice being calm and considerate, my overthinking sometimes gets the best of me, and that's especially in times of conflict. Now, communicating in general is obviously critical, but when it comes to communicating in a conflict situation where you and the receiver or the person on the other end of the conversation are not necessarily seeing eye to eye, one of two things might happen to you. Number one, you may get into your head and avoid communicating. That happens to me a lot. Or it may happen that even when you do communicate, we fail at actually taking it through. When it comes to conflict communication, I've found that thinking on a scale helps with keeping calm in such situations. We'll talk through different ways to keep the calm and the respect on a scale from passive to respectfully assertive. Now, when it comes to communication, respect is ultimately the goal. And what do I mean by that? Without respect, the communication is just not working. We need to have respect for ourselves as well as for the other person. So if you think of it as a chart with 2 axes, on your bottom horizontal chart, your so-called x-axis, that's the respect for the other person. The more on the right you are, the higher you are on the x-axis, the more respect you're giving the other person. Now, if we're right there, that's the first spot you can be in. And that's a very low spot on the vertical axis, the y-axis, which represents respect for yourself. If you are high in respect or regard for others, but low towards yourself, you're being passive. This is where the overthinking will come in. You're not able to speak. You begin to even resent the person. You're in your head. You're not sure how to act. And this can be dangerous because it can lower the respect or regard for the other as well. And we move towards the left. The second spot on the chart is if you're then low on respect for yourself, but also low on that for the other person. Now, you might find the guts to communicate, but this is where we move from passive to passive-aggressive. Sarcasm, mocking tones, you may even avoid the actual needed confrontation and focus on ignoring the conflict altogether. This is where the ego enters the conversation. The problem with the ego is even though it may build up respect for yourself, it can still mean less respect for the other. Enter the third spot. We're going high on the vertical axis, low on the horizontal. We've now moved on from passive-aggressive onto just aggressive. Now, this is where the accusations come in. You don't do this, you did that, you, blaming everything on everyone but ourselves. This is especially common when it comes to relationships. Our voice stops the tremble and instead we start getting loud. This is especially the case where you feel like you may lose an argument and you just want to have your ego there, right? That's the one thing you want to protect. Do we even have a point to this conversation anymore? It doesn't matter. It's an attack. Ouch. So let's take a step back and try it again. This time, we're going to move to the right, where the fourth spot and final spot is that we are high in respect on the vertical and the horizontal axis. This means respect for the other and equal respect towards ourselves. A respectful and assertive tone allows you to stand up for yourself while remaining calm. No loud voices, no you. Instead, we focus on the I. And here, I'm not speaking about the ego I, right? In this case, it's what it is I or we seek from the conversation. the missing link that will help resolve the conflict at hand. There are no accusations. Instead, there's a longing for understanding and a middle ground if needed. It's very much a conversation centered around love, if you will, right? In relationships, it's remembering the love you have for the other person while focusing on the other instead of it being the partner. It is now the conflict. At work, rather than looking at, your manager, your colleague, it is looking at the problem. One hack I've found to be quite helpful is having a calm trigger word. Now, a trigger word is a different thing, right? That could have a negative connotation. But a calm word is something that when you are speaking and you start feeling the anger rise up, you can just include in the way that you're speaking or in whatever it is you're saying. Mine is love, for example. And I'm not saying like, I love you, but actually I force myself to refer to the other person as love. It's very British for a non-Brit, but in my case, it really helps. So if I feel like I'm starting to get angry, I will force myself to tell the other person, look, love, please. And you can't be angry at someone while calling them love, right? It also reminds me to respect the human being or beings that I'm engaging with. They are love. We are all love. The desire to resolve conflict is love. Now, of course, I wouldn't really call my manager that, but there are different calm words that can work. Let me know what yours is. I am revamping the Instagram page, but look forward to showing you what I've been working on. It's still Mind, Body, Soul by M, in case you get curious in the meantime. But till then, step by step, day by day. Thanks for joining me. Let's work on being respectfully assertive with our partners, our friends, our managers, clients, teachers. Hopefully no enemies, but I'm adding that in just in case. And I'll see you next week on Soul.